Beis Yaakov girls shown in Eretz Yisrael, in America, in Australia, in England and France. If they built homes, if they were mechanchot, if they were principals, mothers, bubbies, alter bubbies, great-grandmothers, if they supported their husbands in learning, helped them in their business efforts, helped them be koveitim l'Torah, were backbones of communities. Perhaps the time when they shone brightest was they were like a Shoshana ben Achochem, when they were like a beautiful rose between the thorns in the times of the Shoah. And it's well known, and there are books about this written by Pearl Banish herself has a book they call To Vanquish the Dragon about Beis Yaakov girls during and post the Holocaust. And she herself shares how when she came from Plaszow, which I think was the camp near Krakow, which is featured in Schindler's List, as being shaved, standing next to the gas chambers for hours, standing at a Appel. Suddenly 3 women came over to her clothes. This happened to be Shabbos. One was named Tzila Orlean with 2 other helpers, 2 other Beis Yaakov girls, going over these shocked young girls who just arrived in hell on earth, smiling with eyes full of joy. Came over them, good Shabbos girls. Could you imagine they're in hell, good Shabbos girls, lighting up, taking the time, perhaps putting themselves at personal risk to put a little life into those whose shock to it arrived. And with this, we're going to close our sessions about Sarah Schenirer. Another story about that same Tzila Orlean. She was one of the great Beis Yaakov early teachers. She was head nurse in the infirmary at Auschwitz, and she saved multiple lives there. And she had many Beis Yaakov girls with her who were ready to save lives at great personal risk. Just to one story to really show what she was doing. There's a 12-year-old boy named Jackie, who somehow in Auschwitz there was a men's camp and a women's camp. And this Jackie had somehow wandered into the women's camp. And she turned to him, listen to this, in the middle, Be'emek Havacha. All you know about us Jews is they're beat and degraded. Come every day and I'll teach you a little Torah, some Chumash. Can you imagine? What a perspective. Suddenly, during one of their sessions, the dreaded Dr. Kungel caught them, who was one of those who was doing experiments on Jewish girls, torturing, and he brought them to bunk 10, where he did his dastardly experiments. And he says to the child, what were you doing with Orlean? He knew her as a nurse. What were you doing with Orlean? He said, I'm getting him ready for his bar mitzvah. I had to tell him the truth. I assumed I was doomed anyway, she related. He stared, the Nazi butcher stared at her in disbelief and then brought the boy in. What were you doing with Orlean? He demanded. Listen to this. Mrs. Orlean teaches me Bible. I learned about God and the world he created. She teaches me Jewish history and tells me stories about our patriarchs. I love it. And Mrs. Orlean is such a good-hearted lady. She always gives me something to eat when I come. This beast of beasts, what was his response? His heart of stone, moved at the sight of this great woman's pure love for a Jewish boy. An incredible sacrifice she made to teach a strange child gave him a little spark of humanity. He had tears in his eyes when he dismissed us. He ordered her to return to the infirmary and assured her, I will not harm the boy, but he has to be transferred back to the men's camp. It's too dangerous for you and for him if he stays in the women's camp. That was the koach of the Beis Yaakov girls, to teach the world. Of course, Jewish girls, that was the focus. But to be, like we said, Sarah would say, a mamlechas kohanim goy kadosh, to educate, to shine a light of Kiddush Hashem on the whole world, to the extent that even a Nazi beast would be moved to tears and touch the little spark of humanity that was still left. And that is a prat, yotzim in a klal, lamed ala klal kulo. That small story, I think, shows everything that we've been discussing. What type of ruach Sarah Schenirer put into her girls, that a flame that she lit up, which lit up all of Europe, saved the Jewish world, and continues to shed its light. Adiyam Hazeh. Yehi Zichra, and all of her Talmidot, Baruch, and we should learn from her ways and aspire to be her Talmidim and Talmidot.